Hi Hannah, sorry it's taken me so long to get back to you on this one. I've been away over the weekend and things have just been a bit hectic since, so apologies for that. I did take a look at it yesterday but didn't have time to get round to doing the voiceover. So here we are. First of all, Caroline, I'm sure you'll listen back to this as well as Hannah, but your critique is excellent and your guiding of Anna super, so I think that's making a massive difference to how quickly you're progressing with this. That's really a bonus in my opinion. I liked the way, I think it's probably about 2/3 through the video, you're starting to get a much cleaner touch with him rather than the fiddling with the lips. There's a couple of things I'll mention at the moment. One of the good ways to get him not to fiddle with his mouth when he touches it, because basically that's come along for nothing, what might be termed superstitious learning. So he's almost begun to think that nibbling or, faffing around with his mouth, perhaps trying to bite the ball, is the behaviour. So to avoid that, we want to try and break that cycle. So as you've done in this video, to avoid him doing it, I know I suggested last time maybe putting some high ones so he actually bonked it with his nose, but he's the most agile horse and he's managing to sort of try and get his lips around it even if it's quite high. But one of the things that you could have in your favour is if he has a long chew food, so whether that be cob nuts, whether you give him a big chunk of cob nut so that it takes him longer to chew it, because while he's still chewing it, he might stand a chance of touching it with his mouth closed and without going for it to try and eat it. That's not a given, but it's a potentially an idea for you to try. I normally like the horse to focus back on me and to say, yes, I'm ready to go, you can offer me the target again. But I think maybe that Marco at the moment, we really want him to be calm, and as he is in this video, calm, but not with that mouth opening technique that he's managing to do. So, worth a try that you feed him a little bit more on some of them. Give it a trial on the next go that you have, and see if while he's still chewing, if you offer him the target quite quickly, a little bit higher rate than you are at the moment, see if that takes out a bit that attempt to bite the target. But I really quite like the way that you and your mum dealt with that. I think it was really good training, clever training. What I liked, there was much less evidence in the video of him trying to do his little habit touch of the stable door. You were catching that beautifully. I'll pick that up on the ones that I notice it on. I've taken the sound off, the background sound. I quite like to have that on usually, but you had quite heavy rain obviously, and these stable roofs can be really loud. So I took it off so that you can hear me on the feedback more clearly. But I have watched it a few times, so I'm pretty aware of what was going on when it was going on. So let's have a look at the video itself. So you see the little behaviour before you got there. Touch. Yeah, the other thing I think you could do, Hannah, is maybe move it quicker, so and that would just be your dexterity. So as he goes to bump it, he literally gets his hairs on it and you take it away. So that's another alternative for reducing that nibbling. Now, if he wasn't a biter, a nibbler of you, I would potentially be looking at leaving that in for now. It wouldn't make a big difference. When we do the longer touch, so extending the time period that he touches it, I wouldn't have an issue with taking that nibble out later. But with Marco's background, I'm very aware of keeping that very soft and avoiding any of the behaviours that he's used to. So when you ultimately get to lead him to the field or wherever you're going with him, I don't want him to be on the target. That's just taking his stress from leading and piling it onto the target. I mean, don't get me wrong, if you were in an urgent situation right now, I'd let you lead him in biting the target. It's better than him biting you. But for me, I want to get his levels right down so that he knows targeting is soft. All this work you're doing with him, I think, is just a really nice way of encouraging him to use his brain. We'll do more and more different things with him and move the context to different places as well. So yeah, so just a thought on that one. What I did like, and you'll see now, super clean feeding. He's really taking that nicely, so I'm very happy with that. Yeah, so there, to be fair to you, you did offer it before he finished chewing. So, you know, try with even more, even longer period chew for him, and offer it even more quickly, as I said at the beginning. But, you know, it's going to be a trial and error thing for you to find the best thing that works. Again, lovely clean feeding. I'm really pleased. And your timing there is fantastic. You're very aware that if you leave it too long, he's going to come and touch the stable door with his nose. And we have a saying in behaviour that you can't train a horse not to do something. You give them something else to do instead. So it would be very hard to train Marco not to touch that stable door in that manner, because that's something that he probably does. I'd love to see, I mean, I'm not doing the behaviour on this one, but it would be really fascinating to see if there are any noticeable trends, you know, when people are coming past his stable. Is that a behaviour that he uses quite a lot, that touch of the stable door? Is it something that comes before the one when he goes, I'm going to take a bite out of you? But it's an interesting one nevertheless. So yeah, I thought that was super, really clever timing. Yeah, and I think Mum said put it higher, and Marco said, what, you still want my mouth to do it? So yeah, I think you can just play around with that one. The more different places you can trial it and just see. It might be for Marco that low down is difficult to bite. I'm not guessing that it will be, but you know, you don't know. Don't assume until you've tried all the positions. It might be that far out to one side is harder for him. He just might have to bump it with his nostril. He wouldn't be able to eat it. So, you know, we'll see how we go. I want to avoid him biting it as much as we can, and you're doing great there. Little bit of tension. I notice when you go to your pocket, you can see his little face. He gets quite serious about it, and he gets a little bit tight in his face with his ears, a little bit concentrating back. I wouldn't say it's a really bad thing, but I can see that there is a little bit there. So just keep that food delivery clean. I can't see your hand and whether you're in the bag, but this is the time when you really, really have to be seriously good about keeping the hand out of the bag. I'm pretty sure that your mum would have mentioned it had you had it in the wrong place. So I'm going to think that you're doing this well. Yeah, good. I mean, again, you tried really hard to get it to a position that he couldn't go for it with his mouth. He's obviously a very mouth tactile horse. So keep going with it, and I know we get one later where it's really super, so I know that you know what you're looking for. Again, brilliantly caught. You went for that just in time. It'd be lovely if he didn't even have that chance to have that thought process to go for the stable door frame, but yeah, really good handling, well done. Yeah, and now that's a perfect example of not having your eye on him, but having your eye, you're chatting to Mum about, you know, it's a valid conversation, but he managed to get himself into that little touch there. Yeah, good. It is definitely getting better. Each time he's less inclined to bite it, and he's knowing that that's it. Yeah, fantastic. This is so good. Really, really impressive, Hannah. Let me try one off to the other side. Good. It's much more now about his nose having a wiggle to get on it rather than opening the mouth. So keep going with these as much as you can. And I wouldn't have any problem if he just lifted his top lip to get his nostril onto it. That's not a problem at all. Yeah, really fantastic timing. Honestly, I can't tell you how impressed I am with your timing and your ability to watch his behaviour. It's really super. And really not giving him any, oh, fabulous, not giving him any moments to think, can I get my nose onto my favourite? Yeah, there was a thought there. So you've really got to be quick with that. He doesn't take very long to go from taking the food, there we go, to touching that door. That's really his little habit. Really, really fantastic work, Hannah. I'm so chuffed, and really, really can't, and I can see you taking your bag off and your balls, your targets going away. Really, really fantastic. I don't know whether you've managed to source something stationary. I might end a session with the stationary, so maybe having the cone there with it. It doesn't have to be a cone, it just needs to be that the target's there. It's just to give him some different context for him to play around with. I also don't know how you feel about trying this yet in the outdoor area, if you feel that he would be too stressed for that. And I don't know whether his stable door is only a stable door if you have a chain across it, so that sometimes you can get in and out. If you would be happy to try it with just, say, the chain, or if you've got one of those rubber straps that goes across, you may well not have, so don't worry about that. But yeah, just thinking of building up now to being able to work in protected contact in another area, so that we could start to put gently a little movement into it. If you feel you're not ready for that, the stationary target will give you something else to play with. You could also find something else to put on the target. So you could cover the ball in a glove, say, or you know, sort of tighten a plastic bag, tie a plastic bag around it, just to give him lots of elements. And we're also going to start to put a cue onto it. So as he goes to touch it, you will say your cue word, which can be whatever you like. If you don't want to put a cue on it, if forever you're happy just to carry the target with you and offer it, that is the cue. At the moment, every time you offer the target, the cue is the target. For myself, I often will use the word touch, because we might then, if I'm stuck and I don't have a target with me, I would walk to a fence post and say touch. If it's bin collection day and he's having a spook at everything around, I'll ask him to walk and touch. So it also sort of builds up this idea that your horse is happy to go and touch something that he thinks is possibly scary, because he sees it as part of a game that you play regularly in other contexts. So yeah, vary it up, because I don't want you getting stuck in a place where he feels, oh, it's just touch this ball. I want him to start having to think about things, and I want you to have to think about things as well. So the targeting is super. Also, keep up occasionally still. The food will come on the click. Don't forget, your guarantee to him, your absolute promise to him, is that when you hear this sound, I will give you food. You know, you can see he's quite a stressy horse in his stable. You know, maybe even thinking forwards to working with this in his field. I don't know what your fencing is like in the field. I know you sent me the videos. Perhaps could tweak those out and have a little look sometime this week to see if it would potentially be possible for you to work alongside the gate with him. Say when you've turned him out. I wouldn't advise this at the beginning when you're bringing him in, because if he's going to get tense about the food, I don't want him tense and dancing all the way into the stable with you with your target in your hand. I mean, it would give you the space, but your timing has to be super good on the move, and it's great in place, but I can see we're going to have to get you used to moving with it, because it adds another element with it. So fantastic work, and perhaps you could send me a line or two as to how you feel about these things, you know, how you feel about moving to the outdoor area for protected contact. If you're happier to stay around the stable, that's absolutely fine. I know in your email, which was really sweet, you said he came in and he was quite tense because he was wet and cold and he had a roll, and you did this and he was really much more chilled. So how do you feel about him in general? Is he a bit softer around the place? Is he a little calmer with things? You know, just so if you could just send me an email to cover those little elements, so that I can be sure that we keep going in the right direction. But really, really pleased so far.